Questions on it? Yeah.
Question 15.
15. That is 6x squared minus 11x plus 3. Okay? So if we remember the steps I had put, I wanted to make a trinomial, three things into 4. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply those together. And that's going to give me 18. Okay, and that's a positive 18. Do you agree with that?
Yep.
Just 3 times 6. But we realize we have a negative here, so I have both signs will have to be negative, because a negative times a negative is a positive, and a negative plus a negative would be more negative. Okay, so I'm going to list the factors of 18. Okay, and eventually you're going to start getting to a point where you're like, I don't have to list all the factors, but at this point this might help you. So I know that 1 times 18 is 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. All of those all would multiply together to give me 18. 2 and 9, if they're both negative, if I add negative 2 and negative 9 together, I get negative 11. So I need to make sure I put an x with those. So first term comes down. The last term comes down. And in between, I'm going to put negative 2x minus 9x. And it doesn't matter. I could have put it negative 9x first and negative 2x second. It doesn't matter. It still would work. Okay? Now I have 4 terms. So you look at this and say, okay, well, I know that 2 goes into both 6 and 2. And I know that they both have an x in common. So I'm going to factor 2x out of both of those. If I factor a 2x out of 6x squared, I'm going to get 3x. If I factor a 2x out of negative 2x, that's going to leave me a negative 1. And then this sign's going to come straight down. I'm going to factor actually a negative out of both of those. Looks like 3 will work. So if I factor a negative 3 out of negative 9, that becomes a positive 3. If I factor a negative 3 out of positive 3, that becomes a negative 1. Those are now the exact same. And then you put whatever you have left as the other one. That's our answer. What else did you see that you'd like to go over? Yeah?
7.
7? May I move off this one? Good. All right, number 7. Okay, so we want to take 3 terms and make it into 4 terms. When you're looking at it, my A value I know is a 1. Okay, we don't see another number there, so it has to be a 1. So I'm going to multiply your last times your first, so 5 times 1 is going to give me 5, and that's a positive 5. I'm going to look at my signs. They're both positive, so that means we're doing positive, positive. And 1 times 5 indeed gives me 5. 1 plus 5 gives me the 6. So those will both be positive. I'm going to make them both x. So I'm going to bring down my first term, bring down my last term. And then I'm going to put these in whatever order I want. So I can go plus 1x plus 5x. You could have had plus 5x plus 1x. It still would work. I have 4 terms. I have x in common. If I factor an x out of x squared, that leaves me x plus 1. This sign's going to come down. Looks like I could factor a 5 out. If I factor a 5 out of 5x, I'm left with x. If I factor a 5 from 5, it leaves me a 1 as a placeholder. These have to be the same in order for it to factor, which they are. And then my other set of parentheses, I'm going to put whatever I have left. That's it. What else, friends? It's a brand new concept. They're always done the exact same way. If you follow the iterations through it, you're going to be successful. Let's see if there's any that stick out to me that... Oh. Look at number 9, though. So notice I have that 0x up there, right?
You have to factor out to be a 0.
You would. So basically this might show up later looking like this kind of problem. Okay, but right now we're not worried about that. So I'm going to still do the same thing. I get negative 64. In order to multiply two numbers together to get a negative number, one has to be positive, one has to be negative. Now we're looking for the two factors that add together that give me 0. So do I have to go through and say 1 and 64, 2 and 32? Or can I realize that they have to be the same number but opposite sign? So what's the same number but opposite sign that would add to 0? 8. Right? 8 times 8 is 64. And then one of them's positive and one of them's negative. Positive 8 minus 8 is 0. Positive 8 times negative 8 is negative 64. So don't forget to put the x with both of those. So bring that down. Bring this down. Whatever order you want, plus 8x, minus 8x. Factor an x out. This sign comes down. Looks like I could factor an 8 out of both of those, so it's a negative. So the signs have to change on the second set. So factor negative 8 out of negative 8x, I'm left with 8. Factor negative 8 out of 64. That's going to give me a positive 8. Those have to match. And that's why I'd have to do that problem. So do you understand why I didn't have to list all the factors of 64? The key was I had to find two factors that had to add up to 0. So that has to be the same number but opposite signs. So yes, I could have went through and said 1 and 64, 2 and 32, 4 and 4 and 16, and then 8 and 8. So I think that's about it. Okay. Anything else off of here? You feel okay? Good? All right, so coming out to you are notes for today and then notes for our remote day. Does that make sense? All right. Yep, there you go. So my plan, I think I will have staple stuff to a staple. There you go. I think we'll have a quiz on Tuesday next week. Wednesday, obviously, if you're in the other cohort. There you go. Did you get all done? Cool. Thank you. I will get that graded next period for you, my friend. Noel, thank you for coming in. See ya. That will actually be kind of today and kind of a remote day. Cool? All right. Oops. All right, so first thing we have to remember, double distribute, which is FOIL. So what do you got? That times that. This times this. This times this. And this times this. Agree? Now, obviously, that's where we were trying to get our stuff when we go and factor it, but we're not trying to factor it. We're trying to put it back together. So I'm going to combine those because they're like terms, same x value, or has an x to the first power. So that's going to give me a negative 11x minus 14. Is that right? Okay, now obviously we were going from the blue back to the black on the last assignment, but we have to realize they go backwards and forwards. So sometimes it says to multiply, which is the double distribute, which we refer to a lot of times as FOIL. Okay? Can I move on?
Yeah.
Good to go? All right. All right, and then the next one, we just wanted to distribute over the parentheses. So 5 times 2 is 10. x to the second times x to the first is x to the third. You remember you have to add those exponents. And then 5 times 8 is 40. And the x squared comes along for the ride. Okay? I think I kind of sort of in a way remember this stuff. Then the next one, I realize that's to the first, that's to the first. So if I distribute over, I'm going to get 6x to the third plus 9x squared minus 18x. So it's all done. So remember, we can go forward by multiplying and distributing and foiling and double distributing. And then we were working to undo that as well. So we were going backwards and forwards, yes? So this is like old stuff. We've done this a while back. Moving on. All right, then it says factor. Find the greatest common factor if needed. So I'm going to look at these two terms. What do I have in common between x squared and 3x?
3.
There's a 3 in front of x squared?
No, but you can go in 3 with that.
No.
I don't think that.
I have x, right?
Yeah.
And then if I factor an x out of x squared, I'm left with x minus, if I factor an x out of 3x, I'm left with that. So that answer's done. So the greatest common factor takes place. Let's see, this one, we might be able to see it. I think a 5 comes out of both. What's the most amount of x's I can factor out of both? Well, there happen to be 5 x's that are sitting up there, but there's only 2 that I could take out because they would share. So think about this as this. So then you have, okay, I have both those and I have the 5s as well. Oops, I shouldn't have made that mark. So I get 5x squared, parentheses. If I factor a 5x squared out of 5x to the third, it looks like there was only a singleton x, plus, if I factor a 5x squared out of 10x squared, well, I just have those common, so I have that 2. So this problem's done. So there are some greatest common factors we do come across. Excuse me. See, these are all things that tie together. Sometimes we're breaking them down. Sometimes we're multiplying them together. You have to read the directions. When it says multiply, what does that mean? Multiply. Multiply is distributing. Multiplying is foiling. Okay? If it says factor, that means we're breaking it down. We're taking it apart. Can I move on, friends? Cool. Let's see. I got this. Hang on. I got this one. This one. Oh, cool. I got a bunch of factoring. Yay. Okay. And then our newest stuff is the factoring, right? Okay. We're going to follow the same technique for the rest of these problems. It's the exact same technique the rest of the way through. I know I have a 1 there. If I have a number there, I'm going to keep that number there. I'm going to multiply the last times the first, and that's going to give me a negative number. You know that when you multiply 2 numbers together to get a negative, one has to be positive and one has to be negative. Agreed? So I have 1 times 4, and I have 2 times 2. So here's a question, my friends. Is there any way one of those could be positive and one of those could be negative, and I could add them together to get me a negative 10? Can that happen? No. I mean, I would get either positive 3 or negative 3 if I use the 1 and the 4, depending upon which was negative. Or I could get a 0 if I do the 2. So it's not going to happen. I can't get there. This won't work. So this won't factor. Okay? And a lot of times when things don't factor in the beginning, we just say that it's prime. Okay, now my friends, does won't factor seem like a right answer as well? Will it factor?
No.
It won't. So do you think won't factor would be a good answer?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. they have this words like, oh, okay, this word prime, yeah, like watch on my TV, it's an app. Okay, so yeah, you could list prime, but if you tell me that, hey, it won't factor, I think that's totally appropriate as well. Okay, won't work, I like that. It's not as good, but still, I think it's pretty clear to me that this won't work, won't factor. It's prime. What answer do I prefer? Some answer that tells me that you know that you can't factor it. Okay? Now, I will tell you that there will probably be one of the problems on the quiz that won't factor. Don't be the kid who lists won't factor on every problem and says, I got one right. That's not going to be a good grade. Okay? All right, so now this next one. This has a little tiny trick to it. I want you to look here, here, and here. My friends, is there a greatest common factor that is a number that 2 goes into, and 14 goes into, and 12 goes into? Yeah, 2 goes into everything. If I factor 2 out of 2x squared, I'm left with just x squared. If I factor a 2 out of this, I'm left with 7x. If I factor a 2 out of this, 2 goes into 12 how many times? 6. Okay, so this is kind of special. This is a greatest common factor. Now, this is part of our answer. So I'm going to take this greatest common factor, and I'm going to list it way down here, because I think something's going to work. So now I'm going to look just at this. So theoretically, just in that green, there's a 1 there. I'm going to go 6 times 1 to give me positive 6. All my signs are positive, so I know they're both positive, positive. And the factors of 6 are 1 and 6, and 2 and 3. If I add 1 and 6 together, or I add 2 and 3 together, will I get 7? If I add 2 and 3, I get 5, right? What if I add 1 and 6 together? Yeah, that's going to work. So I'm going to make sure I put the x's with it. So I'm going to go x squared plus 6. And I'm going to go plus 1x plus 6x. And then I'm going to take a look. I have 4 terms. I have an x plus 1. This looks like it's going to be a positive 6. That's going to give me an x plus 1. These are the same, so we know it factors. So x plus 1 goes here. X plus 6 goes here. Okay. So hang on a minute. This is kind of a different idea. We've been doing a greatest common factor before, but we didn't do a greatest common factor with this factoring. So now we're kind of getting to a point where we want to look at it and say, do I have a number or a letter that all my terms have in common? If so, that's a greatest common factor. Once I find the greatest common factor, I think it's a key thing for you to say, I'm going to move it all the way down. That way you don't have to forget this. My friends, 26 years of teaching. I will tell you, the students that get this problem right are the ones that say, I have a greatest common factor. I'm going to draw this arrow. I know it's going to be here. I'm going to make my parentheses, but I know it's going to be here. Once I have it written down here, I know it's part of my answer. Now I can factor this. And I go through factoring. I'm not worried about this because I know it's part of my answer. So I factored as normal, and then I realized, I already put this here. My friends, so often I get a student going, I got a better way. And then they put x plus 1, x plus 6 for an answer, call it good. It's a 4-point problem. They get 3 of the 4 points because they did the factoring right, but they didn't put the greatest common factor. Okay? I'm telling you, my friends, it sounds silly. Why would I draw an arrow? Why would I do that? Because you could get the answer right. Okay? Oh, my friends will make fun of me. No, they won't. There's only like 10 of you here. Although I have heard rumor, after spring break, I've heard rumor they're hoping to come back 5 days a week. That means you give up 3 days of sleeping in a week. You go back to the 2 days a week, which I'm excited about. And I think we'd have some fun because the seats that you sit in, the other cohort might sit in those seats. So we might have like a spelling bee between people to see who gets the seat, or an arm wrestling match, or thumb war, or Rochambeau, rock, paper, scissors. Who knows? Could be good. Hey, can I move on? This is a good problem. Okay. So now I kind of have in my mind, it's possible I could have a greatest common factor on these. On this one, I don't. You're very right. Now, some people are like, oh, isn't one a greatest common factor? You're right. One is the greatest common factor. But there aren't any numbers that go into 6, 17, and 5 other than 1. So this one will not break down as the greatest common factor. Okay. So we're going to go our new way. 5 times 6 is 30, and I get a positive 30. Now, what you have to realize is I have a negative right there. So in order to get that positive 30, that means I have to multiply a negative and a negative together. When I add two negatives together, I get more negative. When I multiply two negatives together, I get a positive. Okay? So 1 and 30, 2 and 15. Can I stop there? Do I have to go further? Do I have to say, well, also 3 and 10 and 5 and 6? I guess if you wanted to, that's fine. I'm not going to mark you wrong. Let's see. If I add those together, both being negative, that would give me negative 11. If I add both of those together being negative, that would give me negative 13. If I add both of those together, both being negative, it gives me negative 31. My friends, I really, really hope if I add negative 2 and negative 15 together, I get negative 17. It just worked, doesn't it? Okay, then I'm going to bring 6x squared down. I'm going to bring plus 5 down. In whatever order I want, I'm going to go not minus 2x, minus 15x. I could have put negative 15 minus, I could have flip-flopped negative 15x and negative 2x, but it's okay that I don't. It's your choice. So it looks like a 2 and an x are in common there. 2 goes into 6 3 times. X goes into x squared 1 time, so x. 2x goes into negative 2x, negative 1. This negative sign comes down. I think a 5 goes into both of those. Negative 5 goes into negative 15, positive 3 times. Negative 5 goes into positive 5, leaves me a negative 1. Those, my friend, are the same. Hey, did this one have a greatest common factor in the beginning? No. So is our answer right now? Love it. Oh, he keeps talking about this greatest common factor. I have anxiety. There might be greatest common factors. No! You know what I won't do to you? I'm not going to have a greatest common factor of like 17. That's cruel. I might have 23, because that's really mean. And, I laugh like that. No, I'd say most of the time, when you look at this, I'd say 2 is mainly our go-to. Maybe 3, maybe 5. But I can't imagine we'd go much beyond that. So, my friends, is there a number that goes into 4, 3, and 8 other than 1? Nope. So ready? Multiply those two together. 8 times 4 is positive 32. What do my two factors have to be? Both positive or both negative? Why is it both negative? Yeah, this right here is a negative. That's going to say that. Now, it's going to be prime? Oh. I think you might be right. So 2 and 16. 4 and, no, does 4 work? 4 and 8?
Yeah.
5 doesn't, 6 doesn't, 7 doesn't, 8 doesn't, or 8 does. Oh. So if these are both negative, that gives me negative 33. If these are both negative, that gives me negative 18. These are both negative, it gives me negative 12. This won't factor. Or it's prime. Okay, does everyone feel okay about why we said that? And again, my friends, I'm showing you the exact same concept to use. And I will tell you, there are other classes at this school, this exact same class. Some teachers are like, oh, I'm just going to have to do this way or do that way. I'm telling you, my friends, if you continue to do it my way, it's done the same way every time, and you're going to get it right. And I know that there are some teachers in calculus that are like, oh, they have to be able to do it like this. I'm like, they'll be fine. If the students make it to calculus, they'll be fine. Because doing it my way might take an extra minute on one question. And I'll tell you what, if you're taking a test and you don't have an extra minute, you might not be prepared for the test. But I'm telling you, my way every time. If you do it my way every time, it's going to work. Okay? Can I move on, my friends?
Yep.
Cool. How many more do I got? This one? And that one? Oh, I got 4 more? All right. Uh-oh. Oh, no. I think there's the greatest common factor. What do y'all think?
Yeah.
How many x's can I take out of all 3 of my terms?
2.
Only 2? I think 3.
Let's try to leave one for.
You don't. You don't have to leave one. Nuh-uh. So if I take 3 of them out of x to the 5th, I get to x squared. If I take 3 of them out of x to the 4th, it leaves me a single x. If I take 3 of them out of negative 8x, I get to here. Oh, my friends, what can you guarantee part of my answer has to be? What?
X.
To the third. This is part of my answer. My friends, I'm going to draw an arrow down here. I'm going to list it down here because I know that's part of my answer. Okay? Now I'm not going to worry about it anymore because I know I have it down in my answer. I'm good for that 1 point. I'm happy about this. So now I'm going to look at this. I know I have a 1 right there. So negative 8 times 1 is negative 8. So I know 1 has to be positive, 1 has to be negative. So if I get 1 times 8 and 2 times 4, anyone use a little logic and tell me which one could be positive, which one could be negative here? I have to get to a negative 2, right? So which one has to be negative when I add those together? If 2 is negative, I would get a positive 2. So the 4. Don't forget the x's that are going to come with it. So I'm going to bring down x squared. Notice I didn't bring down 1x squared. That's okay. Minus 8. And then these will be my answers in whatever order I want. Just make sure the signs stay the same. I have those. What do I have in common between x squared and 2x? X. Good. And then I get x plus 2. This sign has to come down. I'm factoring a negative 4 out of both of those. If I factor a negative 4 out of negative 4x, I'm left with x. If I factor a negative 4 out of negative 8, I'm left with plus 2. These have to be the same, which they are. I'm going to put the rest of it down here. And you know what? I got the 4 out of 4 points because I drew the arrow. I brought my greatest common factor down. Make sense? That's a little trick that I learned a long time ago, that if you know something's going to be part of the answer, draw an arrow to let you know that that answer will tie all the way down. that helped me in physics, it helped me in chemistry, it helped me in all of my math classes. I remember sitting next to people going, oh, I forgot to bring that down. That's where I missed the points. Sturp, how'd you know to bring it down? I drew an arrow. Oh, that's dumb. I got all the points. You didn't. Oh. All right, friends. There's a 1 here. Yes? 6 times 1 is positive 6. Are they both positive, both negative, or one of each? What do you think?
Both positive.
Both positive. All my signs are positive here. So that would say, hey, they all have to be positive. And I know that 1 and 6 and 2 and 3.
2 and 3 share answer.
2 and 3 works. Both positive. 2 plus 3 is 5. Both x's in here. Bring down the x squared. Love it. Bring down the 6. Love it. Go plus 2x plus 3x. That's supposed to be a 2. Common factor here, x. X plus 2. Plus comes down. Common factor here, 3. X plus 2. X plus 2 is a match. I like it. I'm happy about it. That's it. All there is. And my handwriting is getting bad, and it's only first period. Boy, those poor kids, 7th period today. Like, he's just scribbling. Last 2, yes? Okay, so there's a 1 here. 30 times 1 is positive 30. Are they both positive or are they both negative? Well, both of those are positive, therefore those both have to be positive. And 1 and 30, that would give me 31. 2 and 15, that would give me 17. 3 and 10, that would give me 13. 5 and 6, hey, if I add 5 and I add 6 together, do I get that 11? Yep, there's an x with both of those. Bring down x squared. Bring down positive 30. In there, I'm going to go plus 5x plus 6x. And the greatest common factor here of that sign has to come down. Those are the same. Happy day. There it is. Wow. Last problem of the morning, I think. Yep, it is.
Yeah.
What about 6?
That's a common factor.
6 goes into 17 this week?
Oh, wait. I thought that was 18.
Oh, it could happen. You know me, I could make that mistake. Yeah, I would have been pretty stoked saying 6 too, because you got that 12 and the 6. Unfortunately, that 17, that good old prime number 17, got in the way. So no GCF. So I'm going to multiply 6 times 12. 6 times 12, I think, is 72. Agree? And it's a positive 72. Will my factors both be positive, or will they both be negative? Yep, all signs are positive, therefore it works here. All right, so I now need to figure out the factors of 72 that add to 17. Well, I'm pretty sure 1 and 72 would not add up to 17 this week. I don't think 2 and 36 would add up to 17 this week. I don't think 3 and 24 add up to 17, though it's getting closer. Let's see. 4 goes into 72 18 times. That adds up to 22. 5 doesn't work. 6 works, I think. 6 and 12. 6 and 12 add up to 18. Dude, I'm so close. Is there any other factors that work? What else goes into 72? How much?
7 and 10.
9 and 8 is right. 7 and 10, 70 though. 9 and 8 works. 8 times 9 is indeed 72. 8 plus 9 is 17. So this one kind of had a lot of factors. I can guarantee These do not ever add up to 17. But these both being positive, make sure you put the x's with it. You get plus 8x plus 9x. I think I have a 4x in common. What do you think? 4 goes into 12 3 times. X goes into x squared, x times. 4x goes into 8 twice. That plus sign has to come down. I think 3 goes into both of those. That's 3x plus 2. Happy day, friends. Happy day. That's it. That's how it works. That's factoring. That is the hardest thing in math you will learn throughout all of high school. You want to know why it's not hard? 1, you guys are awesome students. 2, I'm showing you the exact same routine every time to do the problem. I will tell you, there are some of those problems where it's like, oh, this one has that trick. Do this trick in this way. And then, hey, this one has a trick to do it this way. And hey, this one has a trick to do it this way. And all of a sudden you have like 11 different tricks, and you're like, dude, how am I supposed to remember all these tricks? No, do it the stir-up way, which is one way, and it'll get you the answer. Now, my friends, do I know for a fact that you're going to get some point in the next couple of days, you're going to start looking at this homework assignment? And do I know that in the next couple of days, when you're looking at this homework assignment, you're like, oh, dang, I forgot. I was playing this video game for 36 hours straight, and then I went to go do homework, and I forgot how to do it. I don't know if you're playing it for 36 hours straight. It might be 48 hours straight. Who knows? So, you know that I have this recording done. The nice thing is it's a YouTube link, which would allow you to get to scroll forward and backwards in the problem and do it. And I'd like you to do 1 through 21. 1 through 21 odds. That's all I got. But my friends, do me this favor. Do me this favor. This is just kind of a thought. Budget your time between now and Monday. Maybe say to yourself, hey, I'll take a look at that. Looks like the first one we're just multiplying. Then it's asking for a greatest common factor. Then the back page is the big factoring. So maybe break it up a little bit. Keep it fresh. Don't think, okay, Monday morning, I know I got stirrups class at like 8:20 to get there online. It's 8:17, so I'm going to try as hard as I can to get all these problems done. No, take a little time. Break it up. Reward yourself. Put a little reminder on your phone. Say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do 5 minutes on this day. I'm going to do 5 minutes on this day. I'll do 5 minutes on that. Dude, I'm done. Start prioritizing your time. My friends, I promise I can get you through this, but I do need your participation as well. And at 8:17 on Monday morning before this class meets isn't the time to say, okay, I got to get this all done. It's not good school habits. Okay? It really isn't. It's really tough, because I'm continuing to move on. When I have a student going, yeah, I might have missed the last 11 assignments, but I'm going to work real hard tonight, and I'm going to turn them all in tomorrow. That's not a good habit. Hey, friends, that's all I have for you today. As soon as that hits to the 11, you can skedaddle. Be safe out there. Have